Wilson's relatives to make emotional visit to crash site. Flight Engineer Sergeant James Wilson was just 20 years old when his Handley Page Halifax went down during a night raid on Germany in February 1945. Although the bodies of the Scot and his 6 Canadian comrades were recovered at the time, the wreckage was lost until earlier this year. It was found on a remote hillside in the Palatinate Forest in southwest Germany, by Dutchman Erik Wieman, who has located several forgotten Allied crash sites. In February, he spoke to the Scottish Sunday Express to appeal for Sergeant Wilson's relatives to get in touch, and our story has since paid off handsomely. The airman's nephew, Tom Berner, and great-niece, Jennifer Mallory, contacted Mr. Wieman within days, and plans are now progressing for a memorial to be installed at the crash site. Family matters, including the death of Sergeant Wilson's last remaining sister, led to a delay in reporting the news, but today the full story can be told for the first time. The young daredevil was working on his family farm in Lanarkshire when he enlisted in the Royal Air Force Volunteer Reserve in 1944. Within months, he was whisked from the tranquility of rural Douglasdale to the flak-filled night skies above the industrial cities of the Rhineland. Mr. Berner, 75, said, "The crew of the Halifax were all professional guys, architects, surveyors, bankers and the like. The Canadians knew there was a lack of mechanical knowledge, so they borrowed their engineers from the RAF. If there were any mechanical problems in flight, then Jimmy was the man to sort them out. He would transfer the fuel from one side to the other to keep the plane balanced, and he even sat beside the pilot to assist him with takeoff and landing." In the space of just 12 months after joining the RAF, he's gone from cutting hay and working with his father on the hills to sitting alongside a pilot taking a bomber off the ground for a night raid on Germany. Ms. Mallory, 49, added, "He didn't need to go to war because he was working on the farm, but I think he must have been looking for excitement. We know that Jimmy brought the Canadians up here when they were on leave. They were up at the farm shooting rabbits and living for the day, and to hell with the morning. They knew that whenever they went on a mission they might not be coming back." The pair last week visited Douglas Cemetery, where Sergeant Wilson is among the 260 local men commemorated on the magnificent war memorial paid for by the aristocratic Douglas home family. Mr. Berner paid tribute to Mr. Wieman's brilliant detective work in finding the crash site near the village of Lystad and confirmed he would attend the unveiling of the crash memorial with other family members. He said, "I researched Jimmy for years and I almost feel as though I know him, so it will be pretty emotional to visit the site. There is so much history attached to what he was doing and where he came from." The massive raid on February 21, 1945, saw 334 Allied heavy bombers drop more than 1,100 tons of explosive on the city of Worms as the Allies pushed to cross the Rhine after winning the Battle of the Bulge. Much of the historic old town was destroyed and 239 people were killed on the ground, while 11 Allied aircraft were lost, including Halifax NP-711, from 408th SQ and Royal Canadian Air Force. Mr. Berner, who has previously visited his uncle's grave at Rheinberg War Cemetery in Germany, said, "There were 14 bombers that took off from Linton on Alce in Yorkshire and 12 of them came back. One was grounded in France and the crew were taken prisoner of war. Jimmy was on the one that crashed. His parents knew he was on the bombing raid to Worms and he didn't come back, but they didn't know what had happened to him until after the war was over and they never knew a great deal about the crash.